Look at us back again. You in the kitchen, me in the office here at home, far away from each other, but somehow together again for the Etobicoke Lakeshore podcast. Hi, I'm Mike. There's your publisher right there, Roger Tubinieri. Hey, buddy.
Mike.
How are you?
Excellent, thank you.
Are you walking around in sock feet?
You know what? I'm not wearing socks today. It's been
Not
a couple
even
of days
socks?
since I wore socks.
Or pants?
You know, I'll just say I'm wearing pants.
Well, I can't see, so I'll verify that he's wearing pants, even though I would assume it's just boxers at this point. We are joining you again today as we come together as a community, and this, by the way, is one of the most powerful things I think that I could have been a part of at this time. I make podcasts all day and all night, but what I love about the EL Pod, which is my pet name for it, you can call it that if you want, go ahead, is that there's a community of people coming together on this podcast every single day, it seems now, that is making a difference in the community while we're all suffering.
Yeah, it's been great, and I appreciate you being so flexible to increase the frequency of these podcasts. I think it's really important for us to get out there, to have a voice for the Etobicoke Lakeshore community. Yesterday, we recorded shows with representatives from all three levels of government. Mark Grimes, he's a councillor for Ward 3. Christine Hogarth is the member of Provincial Parliament. And James Maloney, who, of course, is the member of Parliament for Etobicoke Lakeshore. We also did a show with Stu Bailey, your average Stu, I jokingly say, but he really kind of represents, average person in the neighborhood, and he's answering the call. He's producing face shields off his 3D printer in his basement for local healthcare workers.
It's so amazing. And then, of course, when we're talking to everybody so far, they're just delighted to be a part of the community and looking forward to be back together. And the mission, of course, is let's get through this as quickly and efficiently as possible so we can have summer together again. That's the mission. And we will put out there again, and hopefully they haven't, by the time you hear this, had to take any further action in the parks along the water. But please, just those parks are not open for the moment. That's why they're barricaded. And it doesn't mean that you can sneak in where somebody else can't. Let's just keep our distance and get through this as best we can. I'll also recommend you subscribe to this podcast because apparently, it's growing into a real daily chinwag. At least every few days now, you're going to get another podcast as we update you what's going on in the community. So go ahead and subscribe. And please, if you're going to order out, order local. We want all of our friends here in the restaurant business and the service industry to survive this time as best we can. All right. So now, what are we doing today, Roger?
Oh, we've got a really fascinating individual on as a guest. His name is Matthew Douglas. He is the lead pastor at West Edge Community Church.
He looks like the lead singer of a rock band. I'm looking at, hey, look at that. He
does. Yeah, we should do these. We should do a video podcast, especially for Matthew. He does have the look.
Yeah, he does, totally.
But he's the lead pastor at West Edge Church in Port Credit. He also lives in Long Branch. I'm happy to call him a personal friend. He means a lot to me, and I'm really excited to have him on the show today because he is, among other things, a real voice of reason. And I think people need to hear what Matthew has to say.
Yeah, well, delighted to have you on, Matthew. Thank you for taking the time, bud.
Well, thank you, Mike and Roger. My pleasure to be here.
Well, this is interesting because as a pastor in the community, you are actually one of the pillars of the community and probably somebody people go to with, their fears in life and some of their, difficulties in life and some of their joys in life, and you'll share in their marriages and their funerals and all of that sort of stuff puts you, frankly, in my opinion, poised to give us some feedback on how the community's doing. First of all, what's your feel on how folks are holding up?
My feeling is my 6-year-old daughter here, McKenna.
Hi, McKenna.
We often find crisis in our lives in many forms, and this is a shared crisis that we're facing. And crisis manifests itself in many different forms, but I think there's 4 main ways that we see people manifesting their crisis in this time. And I think number one is Um, People can become mean and twisted in their reaction to fear. Um, Another thing is people can hold on to some sort of semblance of life getting back to the way it was. Um, a third thing that we can often do is just simply give up and just depression, let that overcome us. And the fourth way is to hold on to something that kind of transcends what we're facing. And so I'm seeing people um, kind of come at this in those kind of four categories. My phone is constantly ringing with people trying to cope with this fear. And the ones that it hits the hardest, I find, are the ones that have a weak hope. Um, and that's something that we can get into a little bit. But the general sense is Canada's doing really great, I think, overall. When we look at the world platform, I think um, we're staying inside, we're staying away from one another, we're putting in procedures. I think reason is prevailing. We may see greater measures come, but I think all in all, a mark of a Canadian is courage, and courage is contagious. You know, just like this virus, fear is contagious. It spreads, but so is courage. And the more that we see people doing what you're doing, putting courage in front of people, I'm going to catch some courage and be courage for somebody else. So I think, you know, we're stepping up. We're doing what we can. We're responding to fear in different ways. But overall, I think we're being courageous.
It's an interesting perspective because I would fully agree with you. As Canadians, I'm really proud of how we're doing. And we're being harsh with one another to some degree, saying, look, we have to have these new social parameters to make this thing go away, which are pretty harsh. But by and large, Canadians do have this resilience to get to the other side of it. We use many things. We use humor and song historically, and
Sarcasm, dark humor.
yeah, it's so true. Oh yeah, no, the king of dark humor right here. Roger will attest to that, I'm sure. But it is interesting that we are able to do it. I'm very proud of ourselves for doing that. And then, of course, we sit here as Canadians by and large, and we look at the rest of the world because that's where we all came from. And our hearts pour out to them like we're there, like we are part of it, like we are wrapped up in it. And of course, the media doesn't come off of us for 1 second. It encourages us to go and attach ourselves to these emotions that otherwise we wouldn't be connected to.
Yes. Yeah, we were having a bit of a conversation just before we started the podcast, and you had mentioned the news isn't great for mental dining, and I agree with that. Is it really matters what we feed ourselves? Um, the most diagnosed and medicated health issue that humanity has right now is anxiety and depression. And study after study reveals that constant feasting on fear is not good for your anxiety. It's what you want to do, it's what you're pulled towards doing. You want to constantly feed that mechanism of information to know what's going on, but it actually doesn't bring comfort. That's what we're searching for is relief in the information. But what the information does is it just feeds that fear, it feeds the anxiety, and anxiety essentially is fear. And the best way out of anxiety is courage, and how we manifest courage is simply through a decision. So when we fail to make a decision about what we're facing, we continue that anxiety loop because our mind doesn't know the difference between reality and a thought. So every time we think of something, a worst case scenario, it's feeding that anxiety, and it's as though we are living in it presently. And I think the most powerful thing we have as humans that we don't even consider is our imagination. everywhere you look around, if you're at a window, you look around, everything that you see started in somebody's imagination. Everything physical began with somebody's concept and an idea.
So on that basis, we give our imaginations credibility, because from our imaginations comes everything, but
Everything.
it also manifests a lot of nonsense.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, we don't need reason to construct our reality. Um, but I think that's what a healthy psychology needs to be formed from, is reason. And so when we're building the structure of what we see out of fear, that's a bad structure. And so we got to feed ourselves with a better structure. Find the good. Look for things that are hopeful. I think hope is so critical in all this. You started off your little intro by saying our mission. So Mike's got a mission, and you charge everybody with it. Do you remember what your mission was?
Yeah, keep us a community, keep us communicating.
Well, yeah, that is maybe even better than what you said. But you said summer.
Oh yeah, that's what I
Have
meant. Yeah.
summer together. That's our mission. Let's pull together as a community so that we can have summer together.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we all need a motivation towards our behavior. We all need a mission. And essentially what that is hope. We all need something to look forward to that gives reason for the suffering that we're in.
You know,
We're hope creatures.
how do you feel about this, Matthew? I mean, this is an interesting time for us all to reset, a place for us to take some time away from all the distractions in life that we normally just fill our days up with. The kids aren't going to soccer right now.
Yeah.
We're faced with the kids. They're bored. I'm not going to work. I don't have that drama that happens on the floor at work anymore. Well, there's that energy. I got to use that in some way. So now we have energies that we haven't used positively in a long time, probably because we use them to protect ourselves and get through work and get the kids here and there.
Yeah.
Now we have all of this energy. It's tough to know what to do with it.
Yeah. Well, we've been so distracted as a society. We are experts in doing what is urgent and never getting to what is important. And so now we have this incredible opportunity to deal with what is important. And I think some self-reflection is really key. Now we're in that scary place where we're alone with ourselves.
Yeah.
How frightening that can be. Somebody said, I'm worried because I'm running out of drawers to organize, and soon I'm going to have to feel my feelings.
Yeah.
The moment is coming when we have to do some introspection and ask the question, what am I going to point this energy towards?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the realm that I live in. Is I'm trying to point people towards asking themselves the question of, what meaning do I want to give my life? And at the heart of it, we're all meaning machines. Anything happens, we want to give it a meaning.
It seems like it seems like you're right. All depression, all anxiety, all of these maladies that we tend to manifest come from our desire to achieve something, to do something meaningful.
Yes. Because again, we are creatures of hope. We need something to find rest in. If I gave Roger $10 million to deliver newspapers, the Etobicoke Press.
Yes, specifically. Well done.
A full color digest magazine.
He already has a job now. He just wants the money.
he's got this meaning. It's not an exciting thing to just hand out a paper. It's mindless. It's mind numbing. And then Mike, if I gave you $1,000 to do that for 40 hours a week, what's your response going to be to that job?
I'm underpaid based on what Roger's making. No, my response would be, that's fair wage for a decent job.
$1,000 a month.
A month. Oh no, I can't do that. I'm sorry, man. I'm too busy doing it for two.
And Roger, for $10 million, what's your response?
Buddy, I'll take it.
It's easy. I'll absolutely do it. So you have two people in an identical situation doing the exact same job, but the reason why they're doing it is completely different.
Right.
So one views it as suffering, while the other one sees it as a way to a great life. It's actually a positive thing. So how we position ourselves, and how we see things in the present, the hope that we have, allows us to interact with the present in different ways. So if you have something ahead of you that's worth it, you can endure the suffering. But if you have nothing enticing in front of you, it's suffering.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is create a compelling future. We need hope. We all have hope. We don't recognize it. I'm a preacher. I'm a man of faith, and so I talk about hope, and it's got all these things attached to it. But the truth is, we're all built for hope. And so what you're asking, I see, is a question of like, well, what am I going to put my hope in? Right now we have people where the economy is failing them. People in the world where they're, I won't say what countries, but their political leadership is failing them.
Mm-hmm.
Relational stresses, health crisis, obviously number one. All of these things that people put their hope in is slipping away. And so we need a robust hope, something that will allow us to endure the difficulties. So the question is, what am I going to do with my energy? And for me, it's to serve other people and develop their gifts and talents so that they can give their life in a meaningful way. So you have a great talent. You're a talented broadcaster, and Roger's a gifted writer. So when you can use your gifts and talents in a way that adds value to other people, that's a significant life. We're so busy in North America chasing success. Success is just adding value to myself. But significance is when I can add value to others.
That's an awesome perspective. I love that. And then once you are others, once you become others, and that's your concern, success follows you because people follow you. They want that energy. They want that good vibe, if you will, that comes off of you. Yeah.
For sure.
So now, as we head into several days still ahead, maybe even several weeks, and some changes in life that seem to be stagnating for people already, what's your piece? Give me your last kind of 2 cents on fear, because I would love to see certainty turned into other energy for people.
Fear. Well, I'm a pastor, so I make everything cheesy.
Go cheese me out. Let's go, man.
There's 2 great acronyms for fear. One is forget everything and run.
Oh yeah.
And the other one is face everything and rise. And so depending on what I'm focused on, I'm either going to be a person who forgets and runs, or I'm going to be a person who can face something and rise. And how I do that is totally dependent on what I'm focused on. What am I feeding? So you have to feed the right stuff. Right now is a golden opportunity for you to invest in yourself. Investors, Warren Buffett, he said, be fearful when everybody is greedy, but be greedy when everybody is fearful.
Yeah.
And so right now investors are looking at, what can I invest in? And we know that in times of crisis is a time to lose a lot of money, but it's also a time to make a whole lot of money. And so the question is, what is that great investment? And I can't think of a better investment that we can make than relationships in other people. So when I focus on relationships where I can encourage and inspire other people, I then create a community where I can be encouraged and inspired myself. So what skills and talents do you have? Identify them, find them. And then how can you engage them in a way where you invest in those gifts and talents in a way where you can add value to other people with them? So an example is you got this podcast, and what you're doing is you're giving a message of hope, of encouragement, because you're sick of the amplified fear, and you see reality with reason, and you're saying we're being unreasonable. Let's change our focus. So look at the opportunity. We've all been given a gift with our families, given a gift of time where we can pursue what we actually care about, invest in the right things. Now's the time to make good investments. And I can't think of a better one than relationships. Fear. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. So let's be people that rise up.
Matthew, thank you for your time today. This is all solid advice. We're okay, everybody. We just need to take this opportunity we've been given to turn it to something good. And you did that. Oh, by the way, I found a cool quote that I wanted to share with you guys, if you don't mind. You never know how strong you are. You never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have. You know who said that? Bob Marley.
Bob Marley.
And so there we go. Right
One
now,
love.
One love. Oh, that's what we're finding right now. We have the courage. We just weren't expected to use it until now. So stay strong. Matthew, if people want to reach out to you and find out more about your church, where do they do that?
Westedge.org.
Well, man,
Product placement.
Ooh, look at that.
And,
hold on. Just a second. I'm gonna screen capture that one for the social media, Roger. Look at us talking social media.
For our listeners,
hold on.
Matthew's holding up a mug.
Give me that one again, Matthew. We're doing a photo shoot in case you're wondering what's going on and you're listening. Zoom gives us an awesome, that's the picture right there. Gives us an awesome look at everybody as we do this. Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Go to Etobicoke Lakeshore. I almost said podcast again. EtobicokeLakeshorePress.com. The magazine is up there. And guys, have a wonderful day. There's still lots of sunshine out there. So go and enjoy, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew.